Welcome to Mavens of Data. This week we're speaking with Stephanie Valarezo, Data Integration Product Manager at IBM. Stephanie shared all about how to better leverage unstructured data for enterprise-grade AI and simplifying your tech stack while improving trust and traceability in your AI outputs. I want to give a huge thank you to IBM for sponsoring this session. I hope you enjoy this episode. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. And before we dive in, for those who maybe haven't been following you yet, can you give us a rundown of your background?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. We're super excited to get to join you and the amazing audience here today. So my name is Stephanie Valarezo. I actually am one of the product managers, product leaders here at IBM, specifically focused on data integration. And just a couple of items on my background. I was just recently at a data practitioner conference, and one of the things that I really loved about the audience is we all took non-traditional paths to getting to where we are around data. So my path is I actually studied biomedical engineering in college, and one of the things that I really loved is how interdisciplinary it is. And after leaving college and spending a couple of years within healthcare, I actually switched 100% and was a sales engineer. Actually working at IBM, and really got a chance to travel and see a lot of our clients and how they are building their data foundation for a number of different use cases. And through that experience, I got a chance to actually work and use some of the products that our clients use in major ways today. Because of that, I was exposed to a lot of different mentors, and really incredible leaders in the space, both within IBM as well as within financial services, healthcare, and different industries. And one of the things that they asked me was, where are you going next? And one of the things that really resonated with me is building a product that's makes everyone's lives easier on a day-to-day basis. And one of those things is around data, and how could we actually create data integration products that are not just good for the data engineering use cases we have today, and scaling those efforts out, but for the future too. And with the wave of whether it's unstructured data, generative AI, there's so many cool things that are happening on a day-to-day, and that's really what I'm super excited to share with the group. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background.
Awesome. I love that so much. And I love how you shared that your trajectory has been nonlinear, because I think that in a lot of places we pick up experience and different opportunities to see use cases where we find things that we can actually apply to what we're actually doing here in data. But in data, right? So for the data and IT teams, there's a lot of challenges currently with getting to that place where they're able to actually scale their AI. And so how is IBM helping with these different challenges, and even what are those challenges that you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, overall over the last couple of years, we've had quite a change in the landscape. Generative AI, obviously coming into the space, has changed how all of us interact with technology. And one of the things, like the title of the show is, how do we make agents that reality possible? And so, like, one of the statistics that I come back to is that Gartner projects that 15% of enterprise decisions are going to be made by agents by 2028. And that's up from nearly 0% of where we are today. So if we think about that reality and what that means for all of us, it means that we can scale not just the thousands of us that work on a day-to-day, but also the agents that are going to work for us. But if we think about how all of us approach our day-to-day, it's all about the tools that we have in our toolbox. And the most important thing that we have is data. So for our approach and the way that we're looking to help enterprises, especially with AI or analytics or any of the other use cases, is this is a data problem. And how can we make sure we have that robust data foundation and tap into not just the structured data, but the treasure trove that sits within unstructured data. So all of those PDFs and going into audio, video, images, there's a ton of things that we can tap into. Really, our differentiation is we've been doing this for decades on both structured and unstructured. And now we have a true way within our products that we can help our clients get to the next level for their different initiatives. So how can we make sure that all of us as individuals and managers of people and agents, how do we make sure that we can actually gather the right insights from the data that we have?
Right, especially if they're making decisions for us.
Exactly.
Right. And so what are the most common types of unstructured data that you're seeing being utilized right now? And how does watsonx.data intelligence and watsonx.data integration help extract value from that?
Sure thing. So really, since ChatGPT hit the market and since we really started looking at different models, there was a couple of things that happened there. One is we've been able to tap into all of the publicly available information that's out there that all of us can access. And those have been very strongly in use for the LLMs that we have available. Now, the next part is how can we actually have enterprises tap into their own unstructured data, their structured data, to be able to actually gather additional insights that are truly their differentiators. So for us, one of the things that we're initially seeing is how can we tap into unstructured data in the form of, for example, Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, things like that. I think that's probably easier for all of us as data folks to actually tap into a little bit more than potentially driving into images, video, etc. I'll kind of leave that aside. So that's one of the first things that we need to tap into. The second is that most enterprises already have some content management systems available. So whether that's SharePoint, OneDrive, Box, even extending into S3. So these are all common repositories of data that we need to tap into. Those are really the first places that organizations are coming to us and asking, how can we have these specific use cases. A lot of use cases have been focused around the internal facing ones. How can we make our internal IT experiences or HR experiences much better? So let's tap into those bodies of documents. Let's make sure that we can provide some level of automation to answering all of those common queries. Now, how we actually help with our solutions is, if you think about integration, we need repeatable ways to build integration pipelines, similar to what we've been doing with whether it's Python, proprietary tools, et cetera, and getting data out of all those traditional RDBMSs, cloud data warehouses, and things like that, and putting it into a form that we can easily query. A similar thing we need to do for unstructured data, of being able to have connectors, to be able to have access control that is managed not the same way that all of us interact with data. You need to be able to tap into SharePoint and make sure that I can only access the data that I have permission to. So, keep access control in mind. There's operations that you need to do. And for unstructured, it's a different set of operations, but we almost think of it very similarly to structured data. There's filtering, there's quality operations, and then there's things that are very specific for unstructured data, like filtering out hate, abuse, profanity, things like that. And then also keeping in mind sensitive data. So on the data integration side, it's very similar to all the items that we have to manage for structured that we need to bring. And on the intelligence side, if we think about quality, about lineage, about data sharing, all of this is built on making sure that we actually understand the business metadata and technical metadata that sits within those different repositories. So can we have a way that we can not just discover that metadata, but actually be able to construct a layer of automation so that we can extract entities, create a model that we can then use, for example, when we're doing that retrieval and things like that. So like what we're seeing here is as we look at clients that have those internal and external use cases, they have a lot of common patterns. And that's where we can really see the potential for products on top of all of the people process that makes any of these product initiatives successful.
Right. And those commonalities probably enable a lot of efficiencies. And that's why being able to leverage pre-built agents and stuff like that can be just such a huge enabler for everyone who's getting at them. So I know that you guys had a big launch last week. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what's new with the launch?
Sure thing. So that's one of the things that we're seeing so I'll talk about integration and intelligence. On the integration side, we have, our clients are looking at many different ways of integrating data. So whether that's structured data, unstructured data, being able to handle data in real time or in batch windows, even doing micro batching, and then having different engines. So proprietary engines to open source. What we need to do and what we launched last week is having for integration a centralized control plane so that as an enterprise, you can actually expose those opinionated services for the different integration styles. Now, one of the key components that's going to go across those integration styles is you need to be able to observe your pipelines and be able to not just see and predict, there's something that's going to happen, but to actually be able to have the actions too. So in case there is a change in metadata, that you can jump into troubleshooting and being able to update your pipeline based on, for example, a schema change. So on the data integration side, our launch was having the centralized control plane, multiple integration styles, including tapping into building unstructured data pipelines. And then last but not least, integrating observability. This is going to be a huge enabler, especially as we think to the future and what we can do once we have all these different integration styles in one place. We're looking towards how we can do some things on automation for helping data engineers. On the intelligence side, we also had a launch, and that is really focused on, again, quality, lineage, governance, and data sharing for unstructured and structured data. This can sit on top of your lakehouse investments, on top of your hybrid data platform. And this is really, we see a ton of different integration points, and we're super excited for this launch and how this can help our clients, especially as they look towards agentic analytics use cases, things like that.
Yeah. And so how do you see customers using watsonx.data integration to modernize their data platforms and simplify their tech stack?
Yeah, so one of the things I mentioned right at the top was before switching into being in product, I was out talking to clients. Still talk to clients every day, but my conversations were a bit different. It was a lot about getting into the product, demoing, and really understanding the current landscape that they have. As we look across the whether it's small, medium to larger enterprises, we really see that they have an investment in a number of different tools for data integration. And I'm talking about different vendors, tapping into open source, and a lot of hand coding or homegrown tools. And if we look at the data integration market, there's a lot of consolidation of tools. So one of the things that we really are focusing on, especially for our clients that are looking to modernize their existing landscapes, is how can they easily manage these different integration styles, so that when they have a use case, for example, for stream data processing, you can spin up that component and build a streaming data pipeline for IoT, and bring that data into Lakehouse, as an example. Or, another side is I want to be able to do unstructured data development. So, okay, be able to pick and choose that way. The other side of this is, being able to do things like authoring. This is something that when we go to clients, they want to be able to have the options of having low-code, no-code interface. But like, as we all know, we're all in data. We love to build things. So how can we take advantage of whether it's SDKs, as well as all the tunable parameters from a data integration engine to be able to improve performance and talk about optimization and things like that. So like really when we talk to our clients and we talk to them about those different tools that they have today and how that's going to be a barrier for them to be able to meet the needs of the business, all of those growing use cases, and to also be able to manage them at scale, like this is where our sweet spot is. So we're really excited to be able to help our clients on their journey. And really, it doesn't matter where they're beginning from, because this is a really accessible future for everyone.
Right. And in terms of not knowing where they're beginning from, you've mentioned, data lineage, traceability, governance a lot. Do you find that the clients that you're working with already understand the importance of that and are maybe more mature in their like MLOps journey? Or do you find that there's people who maybe haven't been that great in terms of leveraging data lineage and traceability in the past, and this is a more new to them concept?
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful goal. It's an aspirational goal, but we find that so many folks that we talk to on a day-to-day, lineage is a reactionary item. It is not proactive. When we think about observability, it's, can I monitor those critical pipelines that I have SLAs for, that, my top level execs that are logging in and check reports and things like that. So I've found that it's a lot more reactionary, but that's okay. Like the part that we're focused on is how can we actually make this so that as a pipeline is run, you're able to see and gather some of this runtime lineage, or to be able to see some of this quality information about, your source systems, instead of having to, pause different efforts, go out and do scans, metadata scans, and things like that. That was also our approach on unstructured data, is if we construct a data pipeline, can we do some of that automated entity extraction, that metadata gathering for business and technical metadata? In that way, it doesn't become a blocker to any of your initiatives. It's something that you can even do proactively. So like absolutely, we can all talk about maturity, and that's something that we are encouraging all of our clients to do. Is it is important to take a step back and view your strategy from the perspective of where you are today. But the other side of this is you're not too late. Where you are today is an okay place to start.
Right. Like it's like we're here now, and it's good. You're in a good place.
Yeah.
And yeah, so of course the demand for data is exploding. How are data teams going to keep pace with the necessity to scale the delivery of like reliable data?
Yeah, so that's something we're facing on a day-to-day. There's no whether it's an IT organization or centralized IT, or whether it's more in the line of business, everyone is asking themselves the same question: how can we scale our teams? From a data engineering perspective, I say data engineer, but we really are trying to activate the knowledge worker, whether that's a data engineer, an architect, more of a business analyst. And the way that they're going to be able to scale their their work is, one, do they have the right tools? Whether that's an authoring experience that matches their skill set. So if that's Python, if that's having a natural language interface, if that is, having templates that are already pre-constructed by other team members, like all those things need to be available. The next one is, how do you make it so that your pipeline works for you? And this is something that we're taking to heart. Like with the lake houses and their shift to separate compute and storage, we're also thinking about that similarly for data pipelines, that you shouldn't have necessarily lock-in. So if you write SQL for a particular database, that could actually be able to lift with you as you think about the next investment in a cloud data warehouse or a lake house. So really thinking about, shifting from a position where a pipeline is technical debt to a pipeline is now something, it's reusable logic that it can use anywhere. And how can you do that? Like we have to depend on an abstraction layer where a data engineer constructs with intent of a pipeline, and then at runtime you can choose how you want to mix and match these different engines. So that's actually something that we're working on, and that's the future vision. The first step with watsonx.data integration was at least having all of those data integration styles together. The next one is, how can we have that best authoring experience and also optionality at runtime? When it comes to software engineers and the new folks that are also coming into data engineering too, it's a skills problem. We need to be able to improve not just data literacy, but to be able to have it so that many folks within the organization can actually help out with these kind of data tasks. So that's the other thing that we're keeping in mind is, how can we tap into all of those new skill sets and make them productive in the data world?
Okay. And so in terms of like helping to automate data tasks, how much of the like data cleaning or transformation process can be automated in IBM's platforms?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different things that we really focus on. One, we need to have the best connectivity out there. So being able to connect to all of the common data sources, data targets that organizations have today. That means pre-built connectors, but also the optionality around API interfaces. The second one is, we have a number of pre-built operations that our clients can take advantage of. And those are for quality tasks. Those are for different filtering, transformation operations, mathematical operations, things like that. And then from there, the ability to actually be able to have different runtime engines. So for us, the way that we can help out these teams is by having as much out of the box as possible. Now, the other side, what I just mentioned a few minutes ago, as data folks, we love to build. So also having the optionality that you can take, different operations that might exist in open source, and to be able to adapt those and bring those in, we need to have that ability as well. So that's the other side that is important that we've been focusing on, is bringing your own operator. Now, some of the things that we've, especially in the launch last week, that was really important for unstructured data integration, and something that's really resonated with our clients is the ability to, make things like traditional RAG effective. There's like a couple of things that are holding back traditional RAG, and this is specifically for Gen AI use cases. There's just things that traditional RAG are not able to do very well. So things like mathematical operations, computations, and things like that. So that's another thing that we've really focused on, is for enterprise use cases, we need to be able to create not just the derivatives for unstructured data, like be able to create the embeddings, but on the other side, there's good structured information that we'll probably need to retrieve in more of a SQL query format that we can also gather. So it's like those kinds of differentiations that we can provide as a product set. And that way a data engineer can quickly be able to say, okay, this is the unstructured source. This is the vector database, but oh wait, there's a number of other things that I want to be able to query. I just want to build one data integration pipeline. be able to do that and push it out and automate that. So those are the kinds of things that we really want to bring to our clients as those differentiators, and make sure that they can automate those pipelines. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I think at the IBM conference was the first time I heard about, because I've built a couple RAG systems for clients, and I was only using the unstructured data, but that discussion of including the unstructured data with metadata and tabular data to improve performance, it was like, well, that was an awesome idea. Awesome idea.
Yeah, it's we showed a demo last week at Databricks, and the folks that came up after, whether that was at the booth or at the session, they were like, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. For an agent that's looking at being able to understand, okay, I can answer a question about an invoice, but then to be able to have that, the tie to all the items that exist around that invoice, the PO, any of the line items. Yes, that's a structured data problem.
Yeah,
So,
because you know what? The data, the information probably exists somewhere in the unstructured data itself, but is that the best way to retrieve it? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
no. Okay, and so you spent some time too talking about the observability, and so we've already talked about the data. How are these tools helping teams detect pipeline issues earlier?
Yeah, so that's when we've some of the conversations I've had with clients recently are, they find out a data quality issue a couple of days after when the actual pipeline was run. So that's when someone has actually, they have the report in hand, they've had a couple of days to be able to then, okay, they're going back to it and they realize there's something off. There's nothing worse as a data team to get that email that, hey, something went wrong a couple of days ago. So like being able to flip that around and to be able to say, we can actually see the changes in the data as the data pipeline is running puts you in so much of a better position. One, because there's items that could change within data. So whether that's, schema changes, for more of the data changes, but even for a pipeline not being able to run on time, like you want to have those alerts much earlier on. We have the ability to actually bring in intelligence. In that way, when you want to do things like detect anomalies, it's not just based on what you know about the pipeline, it's about what the actual changes in metadata are and the automation and ability to be able to say, okay, if I have a variation of 5 to 10% in the runtime, or if there's a schema change at this source system, which I know has a number of other dependencies, let me know. Let me know on Slack. Let me know on PagerDuty. That way I can respond. So like those are the things that we can bring in with observability. The other side is this is a different way of looking at data quality. Data quality is point in time, but data quality also happens in our day-to-day. So how can we actually make it so that we can go back to those source, data providers, and if we see things that are happening repeatedly, it's better to have those data points and to have those collected in a way that you can present it, and that way you can say to those source providers like, hey, these are the trends that we've been seeing. What can we do to improve this? Because we know about these AI applications or others that really depend on very good quality, reliable delivery of information.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so where do you see the biggest opportunity for this agent-driven automation using this level of integration?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're working on is so one of the privileges and really honors that I have is on top of working with clients in my day-to-day, like I also get to work with our internal IBM partners. So one of those partners is our research arm, but then we've also been able to implement a lot of the solutions that you're seeing here internally within IBM. We call this Client Zero. So one of the things that we've really focused on is how can we bring in natural language interactions to be able to do things like building data integration pipelines. So one of the things that we are bringing to market later this year, again, fingers toes crossed, is being able to have declarative pipelines. So the ability for a data engineer via natural language to be able to construct a full data integration pipeline. I'm not talking about just simple prompts and things like that, but truly how we all would go about building complex SQL as an example. So this is one thing that if we're able to tap into metadata about different source systems to be able to have the ability to use different integration styles, because interacting with Slack and unstructured data from Slack versus interacting with a traditional database or S3, those are very different. So how can you actually be able to construct and have a very good data integration pipeline all the way through testing? This is something that is a major unlock for a data engineer, not just for authoring new pipelines, but actually being able to manage and maintain, which is where probably about 50% of a data engineer's time is. So that's one area that we're super excited about. And again, it's built on this foundation that we needed to have these different integration styles in play. The second one is on the observability side, we have the ability to do automatic and things like anomaly detection and things like that for different trigger points. But from there, the next part that our clients ask us is, well, can you automate this? If I have all these data integration pipelines that are running today, whether it's Spark, dbt, Airflow, and the open source tools or even proprietary tools, can you actually construct for me an automated set of alerts that you believe, based on understanding that metadata, is actually important for me? So getting to that next level of being able to say, okay, you've run these thousands of pipelines, we've run through it, these are the top alerts that we would say you should actually implement within your system that make the most sense. And to be able to have that automatically logged within your, within Git, and to be able to push those, monitor them, things like that is, a massive amount of overhead that we can shift from an administrator having to sit and be able to, distill down to the individual pipeline level that we can automate. So those are two areas that we can even see from an integration side that we'd be able to help our clients immediately. There's a ton of other use cases that we're exploring and helping our clients with for whether it's on the intelligence side or being able to manage agents. But I'll leave those aside. These are some really good spots that we're at least focused on for data integration.
No, right, but that's huge for preventing everyone from having to rebuild the same painful thing over and over again, right? And then so people would be able to leverage, what you build for helping to, integrate with Slack. And then you have where there's already a bunch of pre-built agents where people are able to leverage those and then build on top of them. And then even if they build on top of it, right, they could make that available to somebody else. Is that the case? Or?
Yeah, so the part that we're focused on is how can we build these different skills, and those then are going to be orchestrated on an orchestration layer. We know that there's going to be pre-built agents. So in this case, the one that can help a data engineer, or the one that could help from an observability perspective. But there's also another layer that is going to, effectively be instead of having you and I having a team of folks that were managing to run those tasks, they would be running those pipelines, creating those pipelines, and then also detecting, potential failures and things like that. And what are the different alerts that we need to implement? So yeah, that is the future goal of, hopefully 2026, 2027 as we're trending right now. But it's one of the things that we're focused on from an orchestration perspective for agents. Yeah.
Right. That's so exciting. And so if somebody wants to learn more, where is the best place for them to go and find more information? So I'm sharing right now the IBM.com watsonx site. Are there other resources where people can read a little bit more about this?
Absolutely. So one of the things that you'll see from the initial landing page is we have our branding around watsonx, but there's a couple of different pillars that we've talked about today. So if you want to learn more about scaling data integration pipelines and observability, .data integration, watsonx.data integration is where you should go. watsonx.data intelligence is about being able to have quality, governance, lineage, data sharing. And then we also have our lakehouse offering, watsonx.data. And then on the side of agents, watsonx.orchestrate, which is really that central nervous system for managing pre-built as well as building your own agents. So having all the guardrails and things like that. So there's a ton of information that we've just added, a lot of blog posts, self-paced learning, product tutorials as well, since we have cloud offerings that anyone can jump into. In fact, even after our major conference, Think, we've been sharing free credits and things like that to actually get your hands in the product, which is the best way, at least I learn. I'm sure a lot of the folks on the line too. So those are great places.
Awesome. I was at Think too, and I got to sit down and actually build an agent, and it was really cool. And I think that, with a company like IBM, there's just a lot of products, and it really helps to sort of figure out exactly what it can do for you and how things fit together when you get your hands in there. Like it really just brings it all together, for sure.
Oh, yeah. The one other item I would say is we do have a lot of these, the cloud services and things like that folks can use to get started. We also have made major contributions into, for example, the Linux Foundation. So for unstructured data, I would actually go out and play with, for example, Data Prep Kit. That's something that we contributed back to the Linux Foundation. And that way you could even get started with building your own unstructured data pipeline directly from your own machine of choice. So there's a lot of things like that, which are together with our research team and others that we want to make sure that folks get their hands on. So another exciting resource I wanted to share with the team.
Awesome. And how about resources for if somebody wants to find and follow you, because it is just about time for us to head over to Q&A. If somebody wants to follow you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so we have two different things that I would share. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Would love to chat with you all, hear about your use cases, and find different ways that we can improve our products. The other side is we actually have IBM Communities. And so if you have a very specific product area that you would like to learn more about, there is an IBM community that is alongside it. So for things like user groups, for upcoming conferences, and things like that, and the ability to connect with myself and other product managers, as well as our folks in engineering and research, I would say the IBM communities are a great way to get plugged in.
Perfect. All right. So it looks like this was the most highly voted question. This was from Daniel. Can you share any flows you've implemented with AI agents that have transformed your daily work?
Yeah, so thanks so much for the question. I'll answer this from two sides of this. One is if you go to our site, the example around being able to extract structured derivatives from unstructured data, as well as creating the embeddings, like this is something that can immediately provide value for an agent and this is something that we've looked at for a couple of different use cases. So that's one that is repeatable, leverages our lakehouse as well. But in second half, we're going to expand as well to be able to work with other parts of the ecosystem. So that's one thing I would say, like immediately you could go and take a look at this and be able to actually view, test out the product. And then I also mentioned a couple of the the different contributions back into open source that you can also take advantage of. So that's one thing that I would say go and take a look at. For things that we've actually done internally to IBM, a lot of our work for client zero use cases within IBM have been focused on a lot of the internal use cases. So, we did a pretty drastic change for example, HR, to be able to automate a lot of the tasks common questions that we all have on a day-to-day basis. And in that case, we actually switched over to having an agent basically take over as all first line in the course of 2 months. So we can share that information. It's a really fantastic use case. And it just goes to show you have to dive fully in. There's a lot of things that you might not get right the first time, but with the quick iterations and things like that, we're able to do a ton there. So yeah.
Awesome. And so Bob has asked, does it make sense to learn the low-code platforms, or do you see most agentic use cases as requiring a programming language? Any reason to expect that Python will be replaced as that default language in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things with this question. One is that we're firmly behind in investing in providing low-code, no-code interfaces. This is something that's important because there's connectors, there's transformations, and even if we think about the self-documenting features of low-code, no-code, there's a lot of really fantastic things. And there's no reason to say that you can't just do low-code, no-code without having a coding interface. So even for our different integration styles, we have Python SDKs that sit alongside them. So in this case, then you're able to say, okay, for this group of data engineers that just wants to have a low-code, no-code interface, here you go. Or for this group of business analysts or others that are more used to using Python, go ahead and build your data integration pipeline. In the case of where we're going to go in the next 5 years, I think we can all safely say that having agents with humans in the loop, that's going to change a lot of the way that we do things in a day-to-day. Not going to say that I can predict out in the next 5 years, but I do think there's going to be a shift where, because we are using more natural language interfaces, that Python is going to be potentially one of those intermediary steps that all of us understand Python to a certain extent. And then, we natural language to Python, we can make quick updates and things like that. But all that being said, I don't think that you should move away from learning some of those low-code, no-code platforms, but really making sure that you have the optionality in case you want to bring your own Python skills.
Mm-hmm. All right. How can AI agents leverage existing semantic models to ensure consistent business logic? And is there a recommended way to align governed semantic layers with unstructured data to enable self-service AI insights?
Thanks so much for the question. As far as existing semantic models, that's one of the things that we've at least focused on. Is most organizations have a compendium of whether it's business terms, important data classes, sensitive data that they want to make sure that they can find, things like that. As well as existing data models, so relationships that might exist between different structured data sources. All of this can also be applied to unstructured data. And so our approach across our tooling is to be able to have consistent business logic be applied to both structured and unstructured data sources. And as far as what we can do, we can help to when you run things like discovery or when you run pipelines, to be able to actually extract that business and technical knowledge and to be able to construct those entity relationships, because that's what AI agents are going to be able to leverage. So, as far as a recommended way to start, I would say leverage the business terms and industry specific information, things like that you have today. Use an automated way to be able to construct the relationships in your structured and unstructured data sources. And then once you have that understanding, that catalog, if you will, then you can actually use that for the AI insights. So whether that's to surface that within an agent, but to be able to prioritize what are the different sources that we should use for it, or whether it's for more of an assistant use case, or even for traditional AI, it's all coming back to making sure you have that great understanding of your existing data assets to be able to, in this case, help for a self-service AI use case.
Absolutely. Okay, and this one is from Kennedy. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for agent-driven automation using this level of integration and intelligence?
Sure. So there's a couple of things that we're focused on. One is for being able to do declarative pipelines. One of the things is you need to have not just an understanding of how to construct an integration pipeline, like filtering or the mathematical operations, or being able to filter out hate, abuse, profanity. Like those are the different things that are the individual tasks. So we need to be able to provide an agent the ability to understand what those tasks are. But the opportunity here is if we have that governance layer, and if we understand which data sources we can access and what is even within those data sources, then we can take an agent to the next level of being able to have that true interaction point, so that when I log in and I say I want to, I'm constructing this pipeline, these are the different, these are the different items that I want to have in the final report. So, share with me where I need to go and take a look and find the source data. Like, that's really the place where we're going to be able to bring together the integration, the intelligence, and be able to help all of us in our day-to-day in a way that wouldn't necessarily be possible by just plugging something into your generative AI tool of choice to generate code for you. It's only going to get you so far, as we can all attest to with trying to write SQL or Bash scripts or things like that with your generative AI tool of choice. So that's really where there's an amazing, initial opportunity. And there's so many other things that we're going to be able to do, from automating quality tasks, automating observability tasks. And then the next frontier is also to be able to tie in the, not just the integration tasks, but what is the system metadata? Once we plug into system metadata, we're able to see, okay, how much compute did I use in my cloud, my hyperscaler of choice, or in that data warehouse compute, or in that query engine? Like, what was that compute and what was that cost? And how can I then optimize it? So that's like yet another level that we're also looking to tap into. In that way, there's a lot more automated actions that we could potentially take, not just for financial optimization, which is super important since everyone has invested in cloud, but for things like sustainability. So, yeah.
Well, and like a lot of these things have always existed, or you could write code to get at them, but they were all disparate, and a good portion of our jobs was time spent digging and hunting and pecking for things like, how much did that database or, those resources cost us? And then you got to go and dig for it. And so to have everything come together and be in one piece is just such huge efficiency.
Absolutely. Not to mention that there's so many potential actions that you would want to take. At the end of the month, we know that there's spikes in data and so many other things that are happening. Like, how do I reorchestrate my system and reorchestrate all of these different workflows in a way that work optimally for that point in time versus, the micro batching and the other things that we might be doing throughout the rest of the month, where there's lower data volumes and less competition for certain systems and things like that. There's so many cool things that we're going to be able to do. Yeah.
Opportunities to optimize in a different way once you can get the, you know, the work that we've always hoped would be automated.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Benjamin has asked, how do you overcome the "this is how we've always done it" mentality when introducing data structure to chaotic environments?
Yeah, it's this is a really tough one. I think the parts that we're really seeing a shift is this is how you've always done it. Like there's a number of things, from whether it's monitoring, whether it's everyone has their own process for promoting code. We don't necessarily do unit testing for every data integration pipeline, things like that. It's really tough. And I think it comes back to like every one of us as leaders within our positions. Growth mindset and the people process side of things are always going to be a barrier, regardless of how amazing your tooling might be. The other side is data literacy is something that has grown, and you've had guests on the show that have talked about data literacy, but that's also a barrier because people don't necessarily know all that's possible with using data or data storytelling and things like that. And we need to help everyone be able to move past this and to be able to embrace this. So this is always how we've done it. It's really tough. It comes back to the people process side of things that we aren't going to be able to address within tooling itself. And it starts with all of us, with embracing growth mindset, always learning, and being able to educate a lot of our colleagues. So I wouldn't say it's there's no silver bullet for this. And what I've encountered in my day-to-day is, even in introducing things like observability, there's a lot of, things that folks have implemented in their own homegrown systems. It's not to say those things are going to be replaced. It's yet, here's another way that you'd be able to bring value to those things that you've done in the past. Yes, keep your monitoring. That's super important for your SLAs, but here, let's introduce another layer on top of that should be able to help with those top 10 things that you need to do every day when you log in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, observability is one of the first things I think about too. And I think one of the big things is just getting people's hands on it, because once you see how like, oh, this is going to be easier for me if I'm not keeping an Excel sheet tracking all these different things because it's already automatically tracked. And there's a dashboard that's going to show me, the information that I need. Like then people are able to understand and realize the difference in the gains in efficiency, even though they already felt like their current system was working for them.
Absolutely. I had a client who said, let's go talk to these folks. Let's get their top 10 things that they work on every day. And even in looking at those top 10 things, there's probably items that we can do better than what we did 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
Like those are the things that we can focus on. There's a ton of repeatability there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have another question from Kennedy. Where is this headed next? What's on the roadmap, and how do you see watsonx.data integration and intelligence evolving even further?
Yeah, so this is love the question. That's a lot of what we do in our day-to-day is looking at how we can continuously improve product. So obviously in the next 6 months, a lot of our focus is how do we bring in whether it's agentic frameworks or being able to work alongside other agents. Like that's a big thing that we are going to be focused on. But on top of that, there's a lot of changes that are happening even within data platforms themselves. So we see, yes, a lot of convergence that we need to keep our eye on. There's, whether it's lake houses and, the lakehouses.next that's coming right after. there's a lot of things around query engines and things that we're keeping in tune with. On the intelligence side as well, the concept of data sharing, the interoperability of catalogs, and being able to really tap into unstructured data and make our clients' dreams reality, especially in these next couple of months, is going to be critical. So because we brought a lot of these items into the product and launched them last week, we're now in the fun part with making sure that the use cases that our clients have started off with, because these folks participated in betas and things like that, that they actually move into production. So a lot of fantastic things, growing the connectors, pre-build operations, expanding languages, different modalities. There's a ton of things that we're working on the unstructured side that we're really excited about.
Awesome. And I think we have time for one more question. So this is from Barath. He said, how did you encourage cross-functional team for adapting new changes for data stewardship and data governance?
Yep. So for data stewardship, I think one of the biggest things is that at least we've seen be very successful is you have to gamify it. Like, you have to think about making it competitive. Like, at the end of the day, we're going to the way that we're going to take best care of our different data sources and their data quality and things like that is, creating those scorecards that we can use to compare. Hey, my scorecard's better than yours. What are you doing about it? So, a part of that and having that ownership on the data steward side then starts to permeate with the groups that the data steward works with. So the different providers or consumers, those are the folks that you're then going to work with. And again, it's a lot focused on how do you make this fun and something that everyone's invested in. So I think that's one of the easy ways that you can start thinking about data stewards. The fact that a data steward has many other jobs on their plate. Same with data engineers. But if we at least look at things like gamifying and using that to be able to improve some of that collaboration, like seeing that your consumers are then seeing that your data quality score is going up and up, it's going to improve their responsiveness, and even thinking that they're going to work with you in that kind of way. So that's just one suggestion and one thing that we've seen be a really great way of improving the collaboration and showing results.
Yeah, right. Because then, after you've gamified it and the data quality gets a little bit better, you start having less data quality issues, and everyone wins.
Yeah.
Alrighty, awesome. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like I've learned a ton, and I just really appreciate all you've had to share with us about, what's going on with watsonx. And thank you for joining.
It was such an honor. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I hope to see you again next week. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon.